Hi there, I hope you're okay. It's Michael here, and welcome to 5 Minute Focus. Today, I want to talk to you about sensory boxes. The sensory box is something that you can put together that will help you to get inspired and trigger the right emotional response at the right time. As a writer, as a creative, inspiration is important to you, and it can be elusive at times. And when you are uninspired, it is virtually impossible to focus and actually create your art and get it done. I have a thing called a sensory box. So a sensory box is just a collection of things that help you to get in the right frame of mind to trigger the right emotional response. Inspiration is just an emotional response to something. The thing that inspires you is just a trigger. It triggers that emotion, and that emotion is linked to a memory or experience that you've had, something that means something to you. So when that trigger, that thing that inspires you, comes along and you see it, you touch it, you smell it, whatever, when that happens, somewhere in your brain's going back to the time when the memory or the experience actually happened. So when you understand what inspiration really is and where it comes from, it makes it much easier to then go forward and replicate that and make it so that you can actually call upon inspiration at will. And that's what the sensory box idea is all about. I'm going to show you part of one of my sensory boxes. I have a few, and I heartily recommend that you have a few too, because different feelings require different triggers. Sometimes you need to feel empowered and feel good when you're writing, and sometimes you need to be emotional and whatnot. So having several of them, each one set up for a different thing, is super helpful. So the things that you put in your box, they have to be, from your perspective, emotionally linked to the experience or the memory that you're trying to call upon. You won't know what those things are until you come across them, but make a note of them when you find them. But when you come across those things, you can, make a note of it, and recognize that item, that thing, that whatever that is, has triggered that particular emotional response within you, and now you feel ready to write. So put that in the box. If you're struggling to figure out what those things could be, I want you to think back to other times that you have felt inspired, and in those times, what has been the trigger? There will be something that you have smelt, that you have seen, that you have felt, and so on, that has triggered that particular response. So what was that thing? Identifying that thing makes the whole thing replicable. So fill your sensory box with things that evoke that specific set of feelings within you. So I thought it would be a good idea to share with you some of the things that I have in mind, just briefly. So there are times when I need to call upon my deepest and most ingrained feelings and emotions. When I have to call upon the pain that I've experienced in my lifetime in order to be able to write emotionally in the right way. So one of the things that I have in my sensory book is this. So this very dirty, tatty photo album is actually full of pictures of my firstborn son. Now my firstborn son passed away many years ago. So when I don't know if you can really see them, but when I go through these, it helps me, it triggers an emotional response within me that then inspires me to write. What it actually does is it makes me think about not just my son that passed away, but my other children that are still here. So it doesn't just invoke feelings of pain and loss and despair. It also invokes feelings of, like being protective and things like that. So all of these things, they're really strong and intense emotions. So that makes it a really good thing to put in my sensory box. I find it really helpful. I will say that there are times, especially if you take the pain approach, there are times when it can be a bit too much and you need to dial it back. But that's on you to figure out what you can actually handle in the moment, because you can't create if you're a mess. So you don't want to push yourself too far. You just want to trigger an emotional response. That's it. Make yourself a sensory box and fill it with things that are emotionally connected to an experience or memory that matters to you. And that will help you write more effectively and creatively. It will help you write more emotionally. It will help you put more of you in the work.